Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. To have a very special guest with us today, she is a nail artist and salon owner. Please welcome Tracy, aka Willie Nelson. Hello, Tracy, and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely, most definitely. So I want to go ahead and get started by asking where you're originally from and tell us a little about your upbringing.
uh, I'm from a really small town in central Utah. Very rural, like no stoplights, which is it's very white and homogenous. And if you're not white and Mormon, boy, it's not a good place to be. But yeah, just really small town in Utah, and didn't really fit in because I wasn't part of that culture.
Right.
So I always naturally felt like an outcast, and kind of just rode that, I guess. And always just I'm like, all right, if I'm different, I'm gonna be different then. Let's be really different. And I don't know, just kind of continued on, and now I'm just the weirdo. So
I want to go ahead and talk about what's your school experience like? Like, what was like your experience as far as like college, grade school and things of that nature?
Sure. So spent all of my upbringing in the same small town in Utah, and didn't go to college right away. Coming from a poor family, that was the only goal was just graduate high school and then you can move out and do whatever. But there wasn't any guidance there for, oh, you need to go to college, or these are the steps to take to further your education. Even just guidance, getting scholarships or financial aid or anything. And so I didn't really pursue any of that for a long time, honestly, until my 30s. I didn't go to a university until I was, I think, 32 or 33. And I got my Associate of Science. And I was only able to do that because I was a single mom. So the government paid for it. So, I was actually going for my bachelor's degree, and I kept going back and forth between botany and anthropology because both of those are fascinating to me. And being a mother, though, it became really hard to do all of the things, to continue to finish my education and still support my family. And so I had to put a pause on that. And there was a time previous where, let's see, when my son was like 3 and he's 18 now, that I went to beauty school in Texas. And I didn't get to finish beauty school, so I'm one of those beauty school dropouts. And went on to do an apprenticeship at a salon in a small rural mining town in Nevada. Wasn't able to finish that either. Mostly because I didn't feel confident that I was being taught anything. I got a year into the program and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pass state boards. Nobody's actually teaching me anything. My instructor was not really, like, she wasn't checking haircuts. She wasn't checking color. She wasn't checking any of the services after I was doing them. So I really didn't feel confident in my skills. So I never did end up getting to finish, but I loved doing nails when I was doing that. I did have one other, there was a gal who worked at that salon who was an esthetician and nail tech, and she was the one who gave me any kind of guidance. So I felt a lot more comfortable doing nails, but that was even, God, gel toes were just becoming a thing, and gel polish, like maybe shellac, but all we did was acrylic and pink and whites. And I didn't even know how to use my e-file. I was terrified of it. So I hand filed everything. And I just remember always wanting to go back and do that. Like, I told myself, someday you're going to go back and get your nail license, because that's what really made you happy. You felt confident in doing that. And so I tried the regular, university route, and that didn't really pay off for me in the end. I even went to school and became an EMT, and that didn't work out either. And I finally had an opportunity and was in a comfortable place in my life where I could afford to just take those 3 months off and go to school. So I did.
Right.
And the one great thing I can say about Utah is that a lot of their education is really accessible and affordable. So they have quite a few applied tech schools where you can go get your barbering or HVAC or all kinds of different certificates. And I was able to, I started in the end of 2019 and graduated right as the pandemic shut everything down. And it took me 3 months to do nail school and only cost me $1,500. So it seemed like a no-brainer. I was like, no, this is my opportunity. I'm going to do the thing.
Right.
And then the pandemic happens and I'm like, wow, this is cool. Thanks, universe, for I waited until I was 40 to do something cool. And then you just shut me down. So, yeah. And we were still living in Utah. And I knew we were moving out here to Washington, which is where we are now. So I made sure to get all my licensing done in Utah, and it just transferred straight over. They have reciprocity. So I think it cost me like $50 to transfer my license and be able to start working out here. So I took the long way to get here, but I made it. And sometimes I think about how it could have been so different had I been able to really start that journey back in 2009 or 2008 when I did cosmetology school originally. But I don't know, maybe I have a different appreciation for it now. So that's how I got here.
I want to get into and push forward as far as with role models. So who did you consider to be like your role models in your life?
That's a really tough one, because I remember in high school having to write a paper that was part of you don't get to graduate unless you do this English paper, and blah, everybody got one of, 4 or 5 questions. And that was mine, was who's your role model and why? And I hated that question. And honestly, I wrote about me. I never grew up having a role model. I didn't understand having role models in the celebrity world. That wasn't, I didn't resonate with that. And I didn't have anybody else in my life that I looked up to. There wasn't, there were no coaches or family members that I saw that was like, oh my gosh, they're doing this amazing thing. I can do that too. So I wrote my paper about I'm my role model, because look at all of these things that I've pushed forward through. And at the end of the day, I just have myself.
Right.
And even now, I don't know that I have a lot of role models in that same sense. There are definitely folks in the industry that I appreciate and I value, because they've, there is one gal, I guess, and she's in Utah, and she's one of the original Magpie Beauty USA educators, Melissa Hendrickson, and she runs a salon and a school, like an apprenticeship situation in central Utah. And I remember thinking, I want to do what she's doing. What she's doing is amazing. She's building this platform to help students be amazing, to lift them up and build their skills. And I want to do what she's doing. And that's honestly probably the closest thing that I could say that I have to a role model, especially in the industry.
Yeah, totally understandable. I want to get into your nail salon called Knuckle Sandwich Nail Bar. So, what
Yeah.
has been the journey in terms of developing and having your own business?
Oh man, it's been a wild ride. I never, ever, ever wanted to be a business owner. That was not a dream of mine. I did not want to work for my work and have staff and all of the admin that comes with it. And I don't know, that's never been a dream of mine. And I started really wanting to get more into a mentorship role.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, it's been probably a year or so that I started just thinking about it a lot more and like, how could I make that happen? Um, and it just, everything just lined up the way it
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to. And doors were opening and it felt
Mm-hmm.
silly not to walk through those doors. Those opportunities
Right.
were presenting themselves. And so
Mm-hmm.
I knew I would regret it if I didn't take that leap. And so
Mm-hmm.
um, it was a really quick thing that happened. I have the gal that does my hair,
Mm-hmm.
Jessica. I was sitting in her chair and she was like, "So you work from home, right?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." She's like, "So would you ever consider not working from home?" And I was like, "Funny you should ask, because I've been toying around with the idea of trying to find a space and do
Mm-hmm.
some mentorship and small classes or something."
Mm-hmm.
And she told me of this opportunity because her and one of her really close stylist friends had been wanting to get out and do their own thing as well. And they wanted to create this collaborative space supporting local artists in all capacities, not just hair and nails, but all the different mediums. And there was this opportunity to get into a building that was a former beauty school in
Mm-hmm.
an amazing location in downtown Olympia. And
Mm-hmm.
it's an historic, like 1800s building and just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to get in and secure this space.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we waited for like 5 months
Mm-hmm.
for the go ahead. We were like, do we get it? Do we get it? Do we get it? And
Right.
then all of a sudden they were like, yes, you're in. And we had this like really short window of maybe 2 or 3 months to renovate and get everything business side of it done and move in. And we were paying rent already. Um, and so it really just happened so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been an overwhelming journey,
Mm-hmm.
but so rewarding. Now I have this staff of 3, and they're incredible and they've learned so quickly and they're all new. They're all licensed within a year or newer. I mean, one girl got licensed the day we did training, like 2 weeks before we opened. She got her email notification that she had passed all of her state boards that day. And so we got to celebrate.
Wow.
And the growth that she's made in the 4 months since then is absolutely incredible. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want to do. I want to create that space so to help people build their skills. Otherwise, as a new tech, you're just sort of scrambling, like troubleshooting on your own. And it's really hard and it's really defeating sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It's been a really crazy adventure and I don't regret it at all.
I want
So,
to get into as far as your one-on-one and small group nail classes. So, what are some of the nail classes that you offer, and what do students learn?
so one-on-ones are tailored to whatever it is that they would like to learn. So a lot of it is shape and structure, or even e-file basics, e-file manicures, because I don't know about most states, but the ones that I'm familiar with, schools are not required to teach you how to use an e-file. There's some book work and maybe some questions on your exam that might be related to that, like natural nail speed versus, your enhancement, removal
Right.
speeds, but we never got actual hands-on work with
Mm-hmm.
an e-file in our hands. And then you get thrown out into this world with no education on it. So a lot of it ends
Yeah.
up being just getting them comfortable with using an e-file, shaping, structure. Everything that we do in my salon is gel related. So polygel or soft gel, hard gels. We don't mess with acrylic at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then small group classes, I haven't really done a whole lot of that yet. And that has been, there's been a lot of things prohibiting that. One,
Right.
space out here to rent for a day in Washington is
Mm.
not cheap. And I was formerly an educator for Magpie Beauty USA, and they cap what we're allowed to charge for their classes. So it didn't leave a lot of room to actually make any money teaching classes unless you had this really big class, but
Mm-hmm.
then you're not able to provide the tailored experience that people are looking for. So there were some roadblocks in the way that kept that from happening. But
Mm-hmm.
now I have my own space. So
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to hit the ground running this year and get a lot of that stuff. Seasonal nail art, learning how to use different like isolated chrome designs, blooming gel designs, 3D
Mm-hmm.
designs. Sometimes even just helping people learn how to use their art brushes, right? Like I didn't
Right.
know how to use them properly for so long. I didn't even know how to clean it properly. I just wiped it and put it away and whipped it back out again and was like, why
Right.
isn't this working? You know, and now just learning how to prep your brush before you start the art, I really want to get people teach the basics so then they understand how everything works and then they can do and get creative with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'll teach whatever people want me to teach that I am confident in anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
don't ask for acrylic because I can't do that.
Yeah, that's so understandable. And the thing is with, when I was, in cosmetology classes in my high school, because they offered like career-based classes, which is whether it's
Mm-hmm.
cosmetology, collision repair and things like that. So I was in the cosmetology program at my high school. And, you learn a small section of nails, and like how you said, you don't learn anything about e-filing. I didn't learn anything about e-filing and things like that. So you're going to have to really practice as far as how to use the e-file on your own. And what beauty school, especially with state board, it doesn't really prepare you, fully for the industry, like how you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
so you're kind of just like, back to basics, and you have to
Yeah.
start from scratch and learn everything.
Oh, for sure. I've had a lot of people ask me on my opinion. Now, where should I go to nail school? And I'm like, just go wherever is
Yeah.
cheaper and quickest, because nothing that I do now is what I learned in school. Like minus your sanitation, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
how I create nails and the nail art and the structure and everything, I did not learn that in school. So don't
Right.
waste your money on a
Me too.
$20,000 education that isn't worth it, because everything else comes afterwards. Taking
Mhm.
continued education classes and finding a mentor, or following some really great techs on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok that can show you the tips and tricks, to
Right.
level up. Because
Absolutely.
yeah, it's funny too, because some states with your cosmetology license, you can do nails, right? You can do all of the same nail things that a nail tech can do, but other states, it's not the case. So
Mm.
Utah is one of those where if you have a cosmetology license and you basically spend a week maybe learning about nails, you can do all the things. In Washington here, that is not how it goes. In Washington, you get your cosmetology license. The only thing that you're allowed to do with nails is basically a soak off gel polish manicure. That's it. You cannot do extensions. You cannot do structured
Wow.
manicures. You cannot do extensions. You cannot use an e-file. And
Wow.
their response is, so like, can I take an e-file class afterwards to
Mm,
learn that skill so I can do that with my cosmetology license? No, you got to go back to nail school. But they don't teach you how to use it in nail school. So it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I go back if they're not actually going to teach me how to use it?
right. It
It
makes no sense.
makes no sense. And it's a big problem out here that
Mm,
somehow I'm going to find a way to change, because it doesn't make any sense at all. And there are other states as well where, again, take Utah, you can do an apprenticeship, and Utah only requires 300 hours to get your nail license. Washington is 600 hours. In Utah, if you want to do a nail apprenticeship, the instructor has to have an instructor's license, which is just going to take a written test. And I think you have to have so many hours already as a licensed nail tech. And I think it comes around to be like 2 or 3 years behind the chair, essentially. And then you just go take a written test with the state, and now you're an instructor. It's only 75 more hours to do an apprenticeship as a student. So 375 hours total. The student pays the instructor for that education. And I think they're limited at 2 apprentices per instructor. And some of these techs that are coming out of these apprenticeships in Utah are phenomenal. Phenomenal. And out here, oh my gosh, I could scream. It's considered, their apprenticeship puts it in a category as if you were doing like a plumbing apprenticeship or an
mm,
HVAC apprenticeship, and you have to do 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours
mm.
as a nail tech. And you as a student are not paying for this education. The instructor pays you. So they consider it on the job training. And so if I wanted to teach somebody in that environment as an apprentice, they have to do 2,000 hours. I have to pay them minimum wage, which in Washington is almost $16 an hour. They don't have to pay me a dime. And there's also like a $250 monthly fee that I, as the instructor, have to pay this middleman company. And it doesn't make any sense. Where's the benefit for the business owner or the instructor? Like, I'm putting forth, $40,000 a year to teach somebody else and give somebody else an education. But there's no guarantee that they will hang out with me afterwards and stick around and be part of my business. So,
Right.
I don't know. It's very strange how different it is from like state to state, and
Yeah.
it blows my mind. So there's my gripe.
Yeah, that's crazy. I want to get into as far as pricing. So, what has been the journey in regards to pricing your nail and nail services? Did you find it difficult in the beginning as far as pricing your nail services, nail art, and nail classes?
Oh, I don't know of anybody who hasn't had a struggle with that, honestly, because as a beginner, I think we all compare ourselves to a lot of the walk-in shops, and
Mm,
we see their sandwich board signs outside that are like, oh, full set, $25, $35. And we're like, oh, well, we're new. We can't charge that much.
right.
And we sell ourselves short. I know I was, when I was first doing, taking clients in Utah before we moved out here, I was charging $25, whatever you want. And I was doing all of the things, gel, polygel, acrylic. I was just like, I don't know, what do you want? I'll do my best.
Hmm.
And oh boy, that was a lot.
Right.
I was doing a lot of work and a lot of troubleshooting, and not really I wasn't making any money at all. And then I
Hmm.
moved out here. and started taking clients April of 2019, I believe. And I was like, maybe I'll give myself a little raise. So I started charging $35, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I still didn't feel like I was worth that $35, which I look back now and that's so silly.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that we were taught how to price our services because our time is valuable
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the
Absolutely.
skill that you have developed yet or not. Your time is still valuable. So um, that was a really difficult thing to overcome, especially with social media, because you'll follow other nail techs and they'll post their service menu and their highlights and stuff on Instagram, and you look at their work and you're like, oh my gosh, but they're only charging $55 and look at how good they are. I'm not that good. I can't charge that much.
Right.
And there's so many factors that go into that, though. Those people might be in a completely different state that's really oversaturated in their area. So there's way more competition and maybe they don't have the same overhead, or there's so many factors. And honestly, they're probably not charging what they're supposed to be charging either if they're only charging $55. So
Right.
It was definitely a struggle, and I think everybody also struggles with the nail art. How do you price a French? Maybe it's easy for me now, but it wasn't easy for me before. So do I only charge $10 for that because it's quick? Or that's
Right.
such a battle that I think we all struggle with. And at the end of the day, I think you need to decide, what do you want to make? What's your hourly rate? What is your goal? Like, I want to make $20 an hour. Okay, well, then you have to work backwards to find what you're actually going to charge. And you have to add in your overhead costs and your product costs and business insurance, and like all of those things need to come into that. And I think more often than not, we're always just throwing out a price. We're like, $30, because we don't know our own value and we don't fully understand what we're putting into it financially either. So that has definitely been something really difficult. And once I started figuring out what I wanted to make per hour and working backwards, that made all the difference. That's honestly how I started pricing everything with my nail bar. Everything is an hourly rate, even art, which I'm sure will change over time as some of my nail techs get quicker. It's again, I don't think that now if she's quicker at that French, I don't think she should get paid less for it because she put in all that time and effort over the last year to perfect that skill. So she should get paid for the perfecting that skill. Right. So it really doesn't work in that sense. But yeah, I put everything in as an hourly. So like my nail techs make a minimum of $20 an hour, and we broke out art in that same way. So art is broken up into like 15-minute increments, and we just adjust accordingly. And there's a tough conversations that have to be had with your clients, and maybe they're not tough. They're tough for us, I think, to be like, to tell somebody, well, I can't do that in 15 minutes. I can't do what you're wanting in 15 minutes, but here's what I can do in the 15-minute art that you booked for. So we have to learn to be honest with our clients and willing to have those conversations, because nobody wants to say no, but also time is money. And
exactly.
So right now I feel like hourly works really well for us, and it leaves less guesswork. I feel like, right? Like everything is based off of this very specific hourly rate. And as they get more skilled, their hourly rate goes up and so on. And they, with their tips, I mean, those girls are making most of the time like $30 an hour, which is amazing. They're new in the industry and being able to make a wage, like a real wage, you know,
Right.
and it's not just nails. It's an entire experience, and there's value in the experience that we're offering. So
Absolutely. Yeah, most definitely. I want to go ahead and talk about favorite nail products. So what is like some of your favorite nail products to use for nail art and nail services?
oh, I've been a big fan of Magpie's
Mhm.
like base and builders products for a long time.
Mhm.
They just work. Uh, to be fair, I haven't tried a lot of other brands though either, and so I'm
Mhm.
currently in the process of branching out and trying some new things. And but man, I love some abstract stuff. I love when somebody can bring me some random inspo. I don't care if it's a soda can or a rug pattern or a cover art, and
Mhm.
just being able to do what I want with it. And sometimes you got to think outside of the box a little bit. Maybe the cover arts that somebody brought you has faces on it, and you're like, oh
Right.
no, I'm not touching it, right? Like, I'm not,
Yeah.
no,
Mhm.
nope. But you can look at it from a different perspective.
Mhm.
Um, is there texture in that
Right.
photo? Or is there texture? What are the colors? Like, you can just use the color scheme or create
Mhm.
the textures and do a monochrome thing. So I love knowing how my products work so that I can get funky with it that way. So blooming gels and isolated chrome work. Um, let's see what else. What other kind of crazy stuff we got? I'm really enjoying dabbling into the 3D gel stuff right now.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's so much fun. Like, I bought fidget spinner stuff for nails recently, and I cannot wait to make some stupid fidget spinners on some nails.
Ye
Like, just getting weird with it.
Mhm.
And a good set of brushes. Oh man,
Mhm.
good set of brushes and knowing how to use them
Right.
is
Exactly.
so much. Like, you can have one brush and use it for everything if
Right.
you know how to use it, right?
Mhm.
If you understand
Absolutely.
pressure and angles and how to load it properly, and you can do anything so long you just have to understand how to use the products, you know? So
Mhm.
I love it all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. I love like, 3D gel, colored gel polish. I love, a good liner brush. The ones that I like is model ones. And
Oh,
also there's
yeah.
this black nail artist who sells her own brush. Her name is Nails by Nicole J. Her brushes are pretty good as well.
Oh,
So yeah, so I like a good, nice liner brush where I could do character art and things of that nature.
yeah, yeah. And cat eye polish right now.
Yeah, cat eye.
Mm, I cannot get enough of that stuff, especially the translucent ones, because you can layer those and
That's
they
cool.
make the most amazing foundation for any kind of art. Like,
Right.
standalone, they're great, but a foundation for art, and it just, oh my gosh, like, my new favorite thing is pairing it with glow in the dark polish. So putting
Mm.
the glow in the dark, like Luxa makes some really great glow in the dark colors,
Mhm.
and putting a kind of translucent cat eye over it. Oh man, it. I just stare at them all day. I think those clients I take the longest with, because I'm always like, oh, let me see, let me
Mhm.
see, let me see. Like, every time I do a
Right.
new one, I'm just like, ah. And then a client that's never had cat eye before, and you're
Right.
like, you want to watch some magic happen, you know? And
Right.
they get so excited watching it. And that is so much fun for me when they're
Absolutely.
just as excited about the process as I am. I just
Yeah.
eat that up. Like,
Mm.
it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, most definitely. I wanna go ahead and talk about as far as the nail industry. Now, what are some things you like about the nail industry? And what are some things you think the nail industry could be improved on in your perspective?
Oh man, I love the collaboration. The most of the nail techs that I have encountered on social media have been really, really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few that are gatekeepers, and I'm not a big fan of that because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, there's collaboration over competition. You know, there is enough for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't so when people gatekeep, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I understand paying somebody for their time. If you're in their DMs asking like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Uh, but and I've had some folks that will be in my DMs asking me those same questions, and I have no problem giving them a rundown of how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I know, I get a cute little like Venmo thing where they've like sent me $10 for coffee because they appreciated the time that I took out of my
Right.
day to help them, you know. But I don't
Right.
expect that from anybody. But there are some nail techs out there that are really demanding that way. And
Mm-hmm.
and again, I understand paying for your time, but some people just don't deliver that very well. So it can be really off-putting as a new nail tech when you're just trying to reach out and get help and you don't really know
Right.
where else to turn, and then you're kind of get the door slammed in your face. So but I do love social media for the industry and all of the content that's available to help people along the way. Uh,
Right. Mm-hmm.
one of the other things that I do think needs to change, and I think it's a really, really big problem, and I'm sure it's been talked about before, but the marketing for brands, it almost feels predatory sometimes because they these brands will reach out and want you to create content for them for free. And as a new nail tech, you'll be like, oh my God, yeah, that's so great. I would love to be a part of that and be included. And,
Mm-hmm.
but you can get taken advantage of really quickly. And that has kind of been my experience. And it really leaves a bad taste in your mouth because you feel like you thought you were part of this community, but then come to find out you were just so quickly thrown aside because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because now you want to get paid for your time.
Right.
So I wish, and this goes into the like all the affiliate programs where you can earn commission off of affiliate codes and things like that. But some of these are really offensive. They want you to create X amount of stories every week and X amount of posts and lives and reels. And all you're getting is a 3% commission off of a 10% affiliate code. At the end of the day, when you do the math, you're spending so much more time trying to market for somebody else's company and getting nothing really in return. Like 3% isn't anything.
Mm-hmm. It's
When
not.
you could be spending that same amount of time and energy promoting your own business, which is going to have a way greater payoff in the end. So I very much wish that this was talked about more openly in our industry. But I
Right.
think there's a lot of folks who are afraid to speak up because these brands are big
Mm-hmm.
and nobody wants to get in trouble for, um, I don't know, slander, or nobody nobody wants to get in trouble and bad mouth because somebody's always going to be there to try to shut you down or tell you you're wrong somehow. And I don't know. I really wish there was we would band together as a community and
Mm-hmm.
change that about the industry because
Right.
they need us. Those brands need us. Without us buying their product, and when people ask us, oh my God, what did you use? It's us that's selling it. We don't need them. They're not marketing for us. They're not out here going out of their way to give us any marketing time in return. It's just a business transaction, and not a very good one on our end. So I think that's a really big thing for me right now that needs to change. And
Absolutely.
I just tell everybody now, if you want content from me, then you can pay my hourly rate. And here's what my hourly rate is. I'm not doing it for free. I'm not doing it if you send me free product. Doesn't matter. My time is valuable, and then we can talk. And I think more nail techs should have that kind of mentality when it comes to working with other brands. So
I want to switch gears and talk about everyday life and, mixing business with everyday life. So in terms of just with being a nail artist and also being a businesswoman, how have you been able to balance being a businesswoman with, like, everyday life, mental health, and things like that?
You don't. What's that?
Right, exactly.
No, that is actually really, really difficult. And I'm grateful that my kids are a little older now. My oldest is 18 and graduated from high school. And he still lives with us, but he does his own thing, has a job, and I rarely even see the kid. And my youngest is 11, and she's pretty independent. So I don't have like butts to wipe anymore or any of that, but it's still really demanding. It's what a funny world we live in that we're like, we want to work too, and they're like, okay, sure, but you still have to do all those other things that we're counting on you to do. All the motherhood and the housekeeping, and there's so much to that oftentimes we don't get help with. So we're juggling all these things, and it's really hard. I'm very strict about my schedule, though. I have always been really strict about when I work with clients and when I won't. So even before I started the nail bar, I worked from home here in Washington, but I had a separate kind of like an RV garage situation built because my husband works from home too. So he had one side of it for his office, and I had another side for my office with a full bathroom and everything. So nobody had to come into my home. But I was able to, I had my hours. I work 9 to 4, and that is it. And I don't work weekends. I don't work nights. And I was in a very privileged place financially to be able to do that. And I realized that's not the case for most nail techs. But I only worked outside of those regular hours if I had to reschedule somebody for my own situation. Like if I had something come up with my kids, or like they're sick or whatever it is, then I would make exceptions and I work outside of my regular hours. But if it's a client situation where they had to reschedule, well, here's my regular availability. Say what you can. And even now that I'm down at the nail bar, I only take clients 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm still in the salon Monday, Tuesday, but I use those as training days where I can mentor my staff and work on admin stuff, cleaning, all of those things. And I have that same mentality where I don't work outside of those hours unless I messed up somewhere. And I also therapy, regular therapy.
Right.
That's been something new that I've started in the last 6 months because, I just think it's necessary. Sometimes we need that. And it's also really important that we have hobbies outside of doing nails too, because nails is amazing, but you need to have other facets of your life as well.
Right.
But boy, is it hard to do all of those things. And you're like, oh, I got to go to the kids thing and take them to their thing. And I got to do my thing. And oh, they have dentist appointments. And oh my God, the business insurance is due. And yeah, so I don't know that. I don't know that there's a good answer for that, because juggling at anything as a female is, in this world that we live in, feels like an uphill battle. So I don't know. It's you just have to find what works, I guess. But easier said than done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to get into, as far as speaking of hobbies, you're into roller skating. So
Mm-hmm.
how did you develop an interest in roller skating? And is there any other hobbies that you took up on as of recently?
I just was kind of a loner as a kid growing up, and my parents bought me roller skates one time, and so I would just roller skate around town with my dog. And then I honestly, I don't know. Do not make me run ever. I do not want to run. Like, it looks great. Some people really make it look like it's energizing and they're having a really great time. And I'm like, wow, good for you. I've tried it and it doesn't work out. I don't like it.
Right.
But put me on a pair of roller skates and like trail skating outside. And there's so much freedom in that. And I mean, I'll just go skate 20 miles just for the hell of it. And I don't know. It's very freeing for me. So I don't know. I think that's kind of my hobby. It always has stuck with me. And then I discovered that you can hit people on roller skates. And so when in 2010, I discovered roller derby was a thing. So I was like, wow, yeah, I'll skate really fast and hit people. That sounds great. Sign me up. So I've kind of done that as my hobby and like physical activity off and on for the last 13, 14 years now. And I don't know that I'll ever stop. I have so much fun. Even my 11-year-old, she plays roller derby now too. And it's so fun to watch these kids skate. Like, it is something else. They have no fear. So yeah, I think that's my hobby. I'm very ADHD. And so I definitely have a lot of random crafts. Like sometimes I watercolor paint. Sometimes I sew random stuff. Like my kids' costumes for Halloween. And I don't know, I've always just been kind of a DIY crafter anyway. So I'm like, I can make that. Definitely not for cheaper.
Yeah. Now, if you had a top 5 list of your favorite nail artists, who would they be and why?
Oh my gosh. Top 5. Oh, that's a tough one. I have so many that I really like. Mystic Snake Nails in Utah, Haley. She's incredible. She just came like hot out of the gate, just with amazing talent. And watching her grow over the last 2 years, has been really cool. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's a lot of really amazing ones out there, but they're a lot more mainstream. I feel like everybody knows about them, like Nails by Dev, and Ball Pit Addict. And but I tend to steer more towards artists who play around with textures and stuff more versus characters. So, oh my gosh, I don't even know. I feel like I need to pull out my phone and be like, oh, who are these cool people that I follow? Yeah, I'm certainly not. Oh my gosh. Utah's just full of amazing nail techs. I know
Mhm.
I've said that already, but they really are. Gaudy Octopus,
Mhm. Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah.
Holy
Yeah, she's
crap.
very talented.
Like, come on. Like, would you just teach a class already so I can come over there and just like stare at you and watch you work, you know? Um, Katie Dutra in Portland is really great.
Mhm.
But I really love her for how much she shares. I love that
Right.
she shares so much and she still takes clients, but she has this entire online platform of education. And I think that's amazing. And I would love to kind of follow in some of those footsteps as
Mhm.
well.
Right.
Um, oh man, who else is really, really great? I don't even know. There's so many. I
Mhm.
couldn't even, I did not make a list of that, that's for sure. And it probably changes all the time. But
So
I really love somebody that is willing to share their art and
Mhm.
uh, their talent. So,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, most definitely. Now, if you could offer one valuable piece of advice for up and coming nail techs and nail artists, what would it be?
oh man, do the math. Do the math. Do the math. Because at the end of the day, if you're wanting this to be a profession and you want to make money off of this, you have to do the math. You can't just uh, like, and we touched on this already, but you need to know what you want to make and
Right.
what your expenses are so you can get there and what that trajectory for you looks like,
Right.
because otherwise you're just doing it for a hobby. And like the first year I was doing nails and I looked at was doing my taxes and I was like, oh my god, I did nails full time and I only made $10,000 after I paid for everything, like my product and stuff. What am
Right.
I doing with myself? Like, this is insane. And yeah, so you need to do the math and separate your. Uh, you can have all the passion in the world for it is what it is that you do,
Right.
but you can't make your business decisions based on that passion. You have to do the math and make it work, or
Exactly.
or you're gonna get burnt out really quickly. So
Absolutely. Last but not least, where can people find you on social media and how can people support you and your business?
I'm mostly on Instagram, Wheelie Nailson on Instagram, or Knuckle Sandwich Nail Bar. I also have, for locals that want to book, we have Knuckle Sandwich Nail Bar on Bagaro. And cross your fingers soon, my website will be live and you can find us at nailsandwich.com. Man, websites are hard.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, right. It's a complex type of thing.
God, yeah, it's a lot. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's the thing. Well, thank you so much, Tracy, for jumping on the show. Your work is absolutely great. I've been following you and your work. Your work is really, really cool. I wanted to get you for a while, so I'm glad we're able to finally do this podcast interview. So thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you. This was really great. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms and visit my website, ASIATHABIRD.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care, stay healthy, and stay beautiful. Bye bye.